Hey guys, Shelby Smith with Jim and Eat Crickets. Today I am going to talk to you about my very first products. So you guys might have watched a previous video that I uploaded on my very first crickets. If you haven't, go over and check that one out. It is a fairly entertaining story, and it is somewhat of a miracle that I am here 4 years later still talking about how to raise crickets. It was a struggle, but that was only the beginning of the struggle. Not only was I having to figure out how to raise the crickets, I was also having to figure out, like, how do you even cook with crickets? What do you do with them? I had all of the questions, and I was learning from ground zero. So the next step after, and actually not even after, simultaneously while figuring out how to raise said crickets, was how the heck was I going to cook with them once I had them raised to full maturity? You know, do you know how to cook with crickets? Is that something that most people learn growing up? Because I'm pretty sure I missed that class, or my parents forgot to teach that part to me. It was its own adventure. The things that I was struggling with were that I did not have a ton of crickets because I wasn't very good at raising the crickets, and so any sort of test kitchen became very expensive very quickly, shall we say, because I just didn't have the product to work with. So I sort of had to improvise on what things I could substitute as quasi-crickets, if you will, to start developing things. Again, as I'm doing all of this simultaneously of figuring out how to raise the crickets, how to cook with the crickets, I also had to figure out where the heck was I going to be able to sell these things. So here in the state of Iowa, the easiest, lowest barrier to entry way into any sort of food business, particularly something that is shelf stable, does not require refrigeration to remain safe, the easiest way to do that is through the farmer's market. Doesn't require you to have any sort of licensed kitchen space or anything like that. Up to a certain revenue amount, you can produce all of your products legally in your home. That being said, you are completely restricted to selling whatever your product is only at farmers markets. But for me, it just seemed like a great fit as long as somebody would let me into their market. Who knows? It's not often that you get approached about putting crickets into your farmer's market to sell for people to eat. So I had no idea what kind of response I was going to get. Lucky for me, the Ames Main Street Farmers Market director is an absolute gem. Her name is Logene, and she is awesome, and she emailed me back fairly quickly after I approached her and sent in the application and everything. She had a few questions. She was not sure if I would be roasting my crickets live, like at the market, as a prepared food vendor, kind of think like roasted nuts. She didn't know if that was what I was going to be or if I was going to have something that was already prepackaged and ready to go. But she did let me in, which was great. So I had a place to sell the crickets. I had already started growing the crickets, and I was sort of figuring out how to cook with the crickets. So the next step was obviously like, let's do some product development. In retrospect, I don't know what I was thinking on some of it. I mean, I do know what I was thinking. It'll make more sense when I explain it. So I ended up starting off with 3 product lines, if you will. We'll say that cricket powder was in there as one of the things in the product line, but I really didn't have enough crickets to be able to be grinding powder and selling it as it was. So my main 2 products were my roasted crickets, which I believe I started with 4 flavors, but I'm not sure. I'd have to go back and find some old signage to know for sure. I think I started with at least 4 flavors of those. And then the other product that I had were protein bites. So they weren't even protein bars, they were protein bites. So essentially, if you've ever seen like those little energy balls that you can get at some grocery stores, or you've maybe seen a recipe for, I was making those in cricket form. Now, why I didn't just decide that I wanted to do protein bars, I'm not really sure. I think my logic was that I can do the protein bites, people can mix and match flavors, they can try ones they want, and if they find one they really like, they can buy more of those. I don't know. All I know is that they were not convenient to sell, they were probably not convenient for the customer to store. In retrospect, protein bites, terrible idea. Should have gone straight to the protein bars. But whatever. You live and you learn, right? I think it only took me a year, not even a year, to adjust to protein bars, but whatever. The bites worked to start. So I did, like I said, I started off with those 3 different product lines, planned to sell them at the Ames Farmers Market, did end up selling them at the Ames Farmers Market. In between raising them, cooking them, product development, all of those things, I also kind of had to figure out how I was going to package my products at the farmer's market. What did I have available? What was going to be my least barrier to entry? What did I need to do to be legal within the state of Iowa so that I didn't end up screwing up what I had already built? And just wait until you see this awesome packaging. I'm so glad that I stuck my extras of this in a drawer for me to find later, because it's a miracle anyone bought anything from me at the beginning of the farmer's market the way I had it packaged. Like, I don't know what I was thinking, but I'm really thankful for my early customers because, man, they are the best. Just wait till you see. So I don't have the packaging specifically for my roasted crickets, but it was the exact same as my protein bites, and like I said, brace yourself. Ta-da! It was just a Ziploc sandwich bag, and then I had 2, these are like the Avery address labels that I had printed, and one has like all my contact information on it, which is what I legally needed to have in the state of Iowa, and then one has like what they are. So this was for protein bites, and it has like all the ingredients, which like this doesn't even really catch it all, because I mean this was the generic like protein bites label, so this was the base of what was in all the protein bites, but all the flavors varied. So this might have been borderline in terms of legality, but whatever, it worked. But yeah, so I sold my protein bites, and I think I would do 3 for $3, and that was the minimum you could get. And so you put 3 of them, I'd put 3 of them in this little bag, and I'd hand them to the customer, and they'd take them home and eat them, or eat them right there, who knows. And then I also did this exact same packaging for my roasted crickets. So it looked just like this. It had two labels, and it would just be whatever flavor and the ingredients that went in it there as well. Like, people bought these from me for the first year. I didn't change my packaging up until, I don't think I changed it up until December of 2018. So it was like that full first summer of selling the crickets. I sold them in these Ziploc bags. Additionally, when I did have cricket powder, this was my packaging. Oh, I was calling it cricket flour at the time too, which the regulators aren't a big fan of us calling it cricket flour. They're happy with cricket meal or cricket powder, but they do not like us calling it flour. Whatever. I don't care what we call it as long as I can sell it. But this is what I sold it in. I'm pretty sure I could fit 1 ounce of cricket powder in this little bag. 2 Avery labels. Again, people bought it from me. I don't know. Whatever. It is what it is. I'm really thankful for those early customers. And I am super happy to say that 4 years into this, I mean, I have evolved considerably on my packaging, my product offerings, my flavors, all of those things. Those things have all come a really long way from the beginning, and sometimes it is really good for me to look back and see where we started and say, you know what, we're still here, we're still kicking. Packaging today is not perfect. It's not where I want it to be completely, but it's a lot better than those Ziploc bags in our roasted crickets and our cricket bars. We will continue to innovate and change those and progress as we keep moving forward, but man, like I said, it's amazing that anybody bought anything from me in the beginning. But hopefully this gives you a little better idea of where I started. If you are looking at starting something similar, whether it be in the Cricut world or whether it be some other, packaged food business, you don't have to start complicated. You don't have to start really pricey. Like, just get your product out there, get people trying it out. Farmers markets are a really great way to start. It's a good way to get a lot of market feedback very early and very quickly and very cost effectively. Like, that's one thing that farmers markets were huge for me early on in getting people to try things, samples, a whole lot of people for not a lot of money. I just think that it's the way to go for a brand new food business. To each their own, but that's what worked for me. And that is the story of my first products, where I sold them, how I packaged them, all of the fun things. So if you have any questions on my first products or my current products, please feel free to drop them in a comment below. Please do hit that subscribe button, like, comments, shares, all of those things help me hit the algorithm and help me towards my goal of monetizing this channel this year. So thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it, and I will see you guys next time.